A Giants podcast for Giants fans
By Giants fans.
from the offseason to the wins and the losses. It's time to take one Giant step.
Welcome into One Giant Step. It's our last episode we're recording in July here, pal. It's Shaun, Morash, it's Bryce, Gelman. So if you're just joining us, first-time listener, maybe you stumbled on us on the WFAN YouTube page, or maybe searching out Giants podcasts, like, hey, Giants look interesting this year. You found us because you could find us anywhere podcasts are available. We hope you stay for more. Download and subscribe to One Giant Step everywhere podcasts are available. Now, if you're a longtime listener, bear with the spiel, and you have to understand, right? It's training camp. We're ramping up. We're trying to attract new listeners like yourselves. I, Shaun Morash, featured on the Evan and Tiki Show Monday through Friday. Bryce Gelman, who is a young upstart in the Giant community and broadcasting communities with us as well each and every week. We're going to do a preview pod, a recap pod, the whole thing. Just so you know, you're going to get, I think, even more yapping out of me on some of these preview pods. Giants and WFAN have renewed their partnership. I will now not be a part of Big Blue Kickoff Live every Saturday morning. Mark Malusis is going to fill that role as he's got some more expanded stuff going on with the Giants. I wish Moose and Schmelk all the fun in the world, but maybe you're coming to this Giants podcast because you were listening to Big Blue Kickoff Live on Saturday mornings. Well, stay with the podcast. I'm going to have you, as will Bryce, each and every week. You'll get everything I was doing with Schmelk, just setting up the game, previewing the game on Saturdays. Well, guess what? You'll get it a little earlier. You'll get it on Fridays as well. So thank you again for everybody listening. Now, full disclosure, I'm taping this with Bryce a day before I will be at training camp with a lot of my WFAN friends and having a good time there. Got some good interviews lined up on the Evan and Tiki program as well. Some stars are scheduled to join us, and I can tell the Giants are in a better place because doing Giant training camp shows as long as I have, there's sometimes you look at a guest list, you're like, that's rough. This is not going to be a rough guest list. Yeah, let's just say, a couple of the guys that were picked first by the Giants in the draft, the last two drafts, will be joining us on the show, and maybe even a quarterback that was taken in the first round, and maybe even a running back taken on day 3 that has a huge personality, and maybe even the general manager will join us on Evan and Tiki. So that's my little tease.
You're getting
a show.
Day early tease only on One Giant Step. That's where you could find out some of that stuff.
And again, it's filled with maybes because as anything with practice and stuff, things can change, but that's kind of a tentative plan. All right, Bryce, but that being said, love the videos coming out of camp. Love the people I've gotten to talk to that have been at some of these training camp practices. Did you end up going? I hadn't even talked to you. Did you ever make the trek out?
So I think we're going to go August 13th now. There was a scheduling conflict. I ended up having work this past Sunday. I had no idea about it. I was supposed to go potentially tomorrow, but, my sister is very busy these days with her internship with Audacy. She's one of our coworkers. So she's grinding. I'm grinding. So I guess I'm going to have to live vicariously through you, who's going to be at a training camp.
Bryce, little food for thought as a guy with a microphone that's had one now as long as I have, and you're still working your way up here, pal. You never want to utter the words your sister's grinding. You don't want to do that. Don't ever say that publicly. It's not something. That's how a clip lives forever, dude.
Call it out. You had to expose me. It would have went right over everyone's heads. Now you have to make it weird.
Nothing goes over everybody's heads. Okay. So what's come out of camp now? We are in week 2. Let's start with Malik Nabers. Malik Nabers did get banged up with a shoulder injury in Tuesday's practice. All the signs point to no biggie. Maybe a bit of a stinger, that kind of deal. I think both from a Jet fan perspective in town, when you find out Justin Fields dislocated his toe and didn't tear an ACL in the first week, and now Malik Nabers, you see him go to the locker room, miss practice. The Giants did not practice on Wednesday. This is the day we're taping this. So we'll see in what realm he returns to the practice field on Thursday, and maybe by the time some of you are listening to this, you already know the deal with Malik Nabers. But all signs, again, indicate and point to that this is not a serious injury. And I could further tell you it's probably not a serious injury because I don't think he'd be included in an email I've gotten as far as appearing on a show I'm going to be a part of from WFAN if, they thought he was going to be out first. They wouldn't make him available like that the day after is what I'm trying to tell you. So, all right, wrap him in bubble wrap as far as I'm concerned. Let's just start with this, Bryce. Neighbors running these run drills and throwing the blocks. Like, I love it. You got to get hit at some point, right? There's this juxtaposition in training camp and the preseason of you want to keep the light workload. You don't want to get these guys hurt, but then also you don't want week one to be the first time these guys absorb any contact. So, yeah, okay, good that Neighbors got in there, was blocking. Not good if you don't have him for the first couple weeks of the season if he gets hurt further. This was already a guy that you were very cautious about in mini camps, offseason training from a toe injury that dated back to his LSU days, Bryce. So I'm relieved that he's fine. But if I was the New York Giants, I don't care that it's his second year. Avoiding injuries sometimes is inevitable, but he is so important to what you're trying to accomplish on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think he needs to play a snap in preseason. I don't think this is the same as like some of the quarterbacks or some of the offensive linemen getting chemistry. I'm in team as much as you can wrap Malik Nabers in bubble wrap.
He's proven enough, Shaun, at this point. We've discussed it's only a second-year guy. Rookie year sets the Giants record for receptions. Goes over 1,000 yards, even though he had 4 different quarterbacks throwing him the ball. He is someone who has proven time and time again. Listen, there's an argument to be made. You said last year, before the season even started, he was better than Garrett Wilson. I pushed back on that, thought you were insane. Halfway through the year, we agreed on that. I think he's a top 10, maybe even top 5 receiver in the NFL. As you said, he's extremely important to what the Giants do and how successful they'll be early on in the season. You don't want the season, to fall off the tracks, the rails, whatever the hell the saying is. That would be a disaster. I think a lot of people are looking forward to the season, even though they have the hardest schedule in the NFL, as we've mentioned a multitude of times on this podcast. If he gets hurt, that would be an unmitigated disaster. If you're listening to this on audio, Shaun is trying to put on a helmet that clearly does not fit him whatsoever. Shaun
Let's go.
Head. Listen, I think that you wrap him in bubble wrap. That was Shaun's head and face.
Too big.
Bright red. But no, I think you keep him out. You don't play him in the preseason. You barely play him the rest of training camp. I mean, you want to ramp it up in practices before the season. Fine, so be it. But I feel like for the next week or so, maybe you should stay out of every drill.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, some contact good. Don't need him absolutely bearing it all in practices.
Can't be throwing
with the
blocks.
shoulder.
What are we doing?
Can't be throwing blocks. All right, let's get to, I think, a sexy topic that Bryce Gelman, I give credit, was very much ahead of the game on. He's all in on the Evan Neal situation, and there's positive Evan Neal vibes, as you might see on the bottom of your screen if you're viewing this podcast. If you're listening, one thing I think is extremely clear here, Bryce, through 2 weeks. I think we speculated as such. I do think as a podcast, we were ahead of the game on this a little bit. And that was Evan Neal moving to guard isn't simply hey, it's our last year with him. Maybe he turns out to be a decent depth piece. No, Evan Neal moving to guard this is a first round pick that has been a bust at a tackle. Can we salvage this first round pick and make him not a bust and give him every opportunity to start at guard? And I take you back to the free agency period. Many were expecting the Giants to make a big splash on the offensive line, and Trey Smith was even brought up. Then he got franchised. Now he's been since signed to an extension with the Chiefs. The Giants did not do that. They ended up signing Greg Van Roten, who you and I were in unison on, which was, hey, he was fine last year. He's a Carmen Brasillo guy. Not the greatest guard in the world, but he wasn't a disaster, wasn't a turnstile. And the Giants' offensive line last year, before Andrew Thomas went down early in the year, they were very functional, and Greg Van Roten was a part of it. But Greg Van Roten on a veteran deal is somebody who could back up at center if John Michael Schmidt stinks or gets hurt. And if Evan Neal doesn't work out, clearly can start at guard, no problem. So it makes no sense not to give Evan Neal every opportunity to earn a starting job at guard. Imagine lucking in to a 26, 27-year-old guard that maybe after this year decide, we could sign him a little below market value. Oh, he's only 24?
He's my age. 24 years old.
I'm an idiot. I don't know why I had 26 turning 27 in my head. I don't know where I got that.
Going to his fourth year here that he'd be older, but he was drafted as a 21-year-old. So
yeah, you're right. I don't know. Dude, that's a bad job. I mean, maybe I was thinking in terms of, I heard this somewhere else.
I'm like, I've almost
if you signed him to if he was good and you signed him to a 3-year deal, you would sign him to his 20, like something like that.
To be fair, he's turning 25 in mid-September, but either way, he's 24 right now.
25 in the season. Okay, fine. So at the end of the year, you'd be looking at a guy about to be 26 years old on the guard market. All right, we've gotten there. We figured it out. He's answered the bell. Now, the Giants' presence next to Dexter Lawrence still remains a major question mark. And I think long term, you want Darius Alexander to hopefully steal some snaps there. Chauncey Golston, you hope plays a little there. But whether it's Roy Roberts, Harrison, Ledbetter, some of these guys they signed very fringe. Nacho now has become the direct backup to Dexter Lawrence, so he's not even going to play next to there as well. And that seems to be kind of a feeling out of camp. I said to say Evan Neal's not exactly going against the best of the best. He's going against the biggest weakness on the Giant defense, which is that spot next to Dexter Lawrence. However, you can only go up against who you're going against, and it's not been disaster scenarios. So I hope that this thing continues. I hope, and Evan Neal should only get better, right? Like what you see, he should only get better in the next 3-4 weeks and not regress. I think a scenario that shakes out with no injuries involved whatsoever, with Greg Van Roten being kind of your swing interior offensive lineman and Evan Neal earning the right to start, I think it's a really, really positive sign for the New York Giants. And I actually think gives the New York Giants the biggest upside that they've had in a long time on the offensive line. Because at least we know that the offensive line, for all its flaws, was adequate enough that an offense with a functionable quarterback could move the ball last year, right? And that is a very low bar. There might be some of you listening going, what are we talking about? Yeah, I understand that. But they had very unplayable football, whether it was Josh Azudu playing tackle, Evan Neal playing tackle. So if you take those guys and now you're saying, you know what, this Evan Neal is beaten out of Greg Van Roten. He was a first-round pick with all those traits. He is better suited to the NFL and guard. You might have found yourself an upgrade that nobody saw coming at a very important position. And also he's playing a lot of left guard, which would give John Runyon, who actually has played his better football in his career as a right guard, you might get better at two positions there while having Illuminor and Thomas. And suddenly you look up and you go, maybe the O-line is, I don't want to call it a strength of the team, but certainly not something that holds the team back from being successful.
It wouldn't be the biggest weakness on the team like it's been the last 6 years, Shaun.
Yeah,
a long damn time. There's a reason why we were. You just mentioned the fact the Giants' offensive line was solid. And listen, it wasn't amazing, but again, as you mentioned, it allowed Daniel Jones, an extremely limited quarterback, to move the ball. And up until when Andrew Thomas got hurt at the end of that Bengals game with the Lisfranc injury, I think that we could all tend to agree that that was one of the best facets of the Giants last year. It wasn't their Achilles heel like it's been. And on Evan Neal, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm rooting to be right. I think there's a lot of people in sports media who want to be right so bad. It's like the one thing that they get off on the most when it comes to their takes in sports media. It's like, I want to be right. I'm rooting, of course, to be right here, but I'm more so rooting for Evan Neal to be good for the sake of the Giants. 24 years old, about to be 25. If he puts together a solid season here, Shaun, I don't think he's earned himself a massive contract, but he's earned himself at least maybe $8 to $10 million a year. The Giants realistically can use the money that they'll have, especially with a quarterback on a rookie contract, Russell Wilson off of the books. They're going to have the extra money. I'd like them to give that extra money to Evan Neal, and obviously, all things considered, hopefully it goes well. But I'm sitting here to tell you right now, I've been all in on this. I've seen you didn't mention the one rep that we saw against Abdul Carter on the left side, in which Evan Neal put up a good fight against Abdul Carter. He put up a good fight.
And Abdul Carter feels like he might be one of those rare unblockable breeds too.
And Shaun, one of the things that I've noticed from Evan Neal, and he's spoken a couple of times now to the media. There's confidence. Like this is a different Evan Neal. It's not like it's insecure comments like he made with the burger flippers. Like, listen, if he becomes good, I'll flip the burgers myself. You can call me whatever the hell you want. I don't care. But what we've seen from Evan Neal, I see the presence. Like, it's like, I know I'm good at this. I'm all in on this right now. I want to buck the trend of me being called a bust. I was the 7th overall pick. It didn't work out at tackle. I got over it. Now I'm a top guard in the NFL. I just put out a TikTok. Shameless plug. I think that Evan Neal could be a top 15, top 20 guard in the NFL by the end of the year. He's got the intangible. He's got the size. He had the potential. He clearly had the potential. Being selected 7th overall, and you've seen, I've mentioned it the other week when we talked about Evan Neal, and me saying that he'd be the 10th best Giant at the end of the year. We've seen it a multitude of times around the NFL. Guys suck at tackle. They've got slow feet. They got whatever. They got limitations. They're moved to guard, and they find a lot of success. And I think that that's what's going to happen and transpire here with Evan Neal. But everything you've heard from him, you've heard it from Brian Dable as well. This guy is locked in. He's taking it seriously. And it's better late than never with the Giants finally rotating him on the inside and being a guard instead of a tackle. I've been saying it for years. It is what it is. I'm over it. It's good that it's happening now at all,
Yeah, no doubt. And I don't even want to put this in the atmosphere, but in a scenario where Evan Neal is fine at guard, and maybe the Giants have felt like they've been burned in the past couple of years and aren't ready to commit big time money,
Trade deadline.
trade deadline, you could turn him into an asset. Again,
You think that's going to happen? You think this team's ever going to deal someone at the trade deadline?
Look, and I'm not even telling you it want to happen. I'm just saying you got like all those options get left on the table instead of just the worst scenario is Evan Neal at the end of leaves. And everybody overrates what Eric Flowers did when he left the Giants, but you know what I mean. You don't want to see Evan Neal become a successful offensive lineman like Mekhi Becton.
Flowers was playable. He was playable. He was unplayable with the Giants.
Playable. But you know what,
Bryce,
but it was that 1 year. Eric Flowers didn't exactly have a long career after that. He'd probably still be playing if he was really that good at guard. I look at more of the Mekhi Becton situation with the Jets. Like wins the Super Bowl was pretty freaking good on their offensive line. You don't want that happening with Evan Neal. All right. Training camp musings to kind of wrap up other stuff that's going on. First and foremost, heartfelt condolences to Bryce Ford Wheaton. Tears his Achilles. That sucks. I mean, he's a guy last year makes that big special teams play versus Seattle, then gets hurt. You basically don't see him again after that. He had torn his ACL the year before. Unfortunately, Bryce Ford Wheaton, and you root for him. You never want to say a guy's story's done. That feels like a guy that becomes a player that's sort of forgotten about in Giant history because guys, this league can get you with these injuries. And I don't know how many times in a row you need season-ending injuries before. It's not like Bryce Ford Wheat was some kind of highly touted prospect coming out. So I hope he gets back. You feel bad. My gut tells me we're probably done seeing Bryce Ford Wheat in the Giant uniform. Maybe I'm wrong. I root for the kid. I want to see a disaster. But you know what I mean. The Giants have brought in Gunnar Olszewski now. Remember our good friend Gunnar, who shocked us all when he could actually catch a punt 2 years ago when he was signed midway through the year. Because remember, the Giants were once at a spot where they couldn't even roster a guy who could catch a punt. Then he got hurt last year, which led to Amir Smith-Marset, who ended up being a very good returner for the Giants. So will Gunnar stick? Because Bryce Ford Wheaton's spot on this roster was depth wide receiver and a guy that could run down the field and gun on special teams. Gunnar, ironically enough, can do that and does give you some depth if Amir Smith-Marset ever got hurt too. I actually don't hate the idea of Gunnar Olszewski being back here. The question is going to become when we start playing this numbers game, Bryce, are you going to take a Gunnar Olszewski on the roster, or is there going to be more of an opening for some of these undrafted free agents a la a Bo Collins, who played with Jackson Dart in college, who seems to be turning some heads? Because Darius Slayton's been out there. Wandell has been banged up a lot. Amir Smith-Marset's going to be on this team. He's been backing up Wandell at the slot position. Wandell's had 2 minor injuries already in camp. And then, of course, Jalen Hyatt is losing reps again. He's been banged up. So the Giants have actually found themselves in a spot where while Slayton, Wandell, and Nabers should be good to go, your top 3 receivers, I don't know what the hell to expect from Hyatt. You were high on. Maybe it's too much asked for him and Neal to both pan out. So whatever. We'll see what happens with his injury stuff. But there might be room for one of these kids to make a team now with Bryce Ford Wheaton going down. But the veteran nature of Gunnar Olszewski and helping on special teams, I like as well. Suddenly the Giant wide receiver room, and whether it's the last spot, the last 2 spots, I think early in camp, Bryce, has become something interesting to monitor and actually something fun that we're going to get to decide as fans, I think, who our favorites are, because that's classic preseason fodder, right? If you see Bo Collins making plays, we're all going to fall in love. We all have these Victor Cruz, there was the other old receiver at Washington. Was it Calvin Washington? Something like that. Whatever it was. We've had these wide receivers.
Last year with Deontay Johnson.
Right.
Whatever happened there?
Exactly. But these are fun stories, so we'll see. Any thoughts on that at all, Bryce? I know that was just kind of sad.
I just think one of my concerns here is the lack of depth at receiver. Any one of these guys goes out, and do you realistically trust Jalen Hyatt now in his 3rd year?
Yeah.
Clearly, the team doesn't trust him.
Maybe that's a veteran cut at the end of camp, and the Giants are in the mix there. Maybe that is the case. So that is concern for me, number 1. Concern number 2 is nobody really stepping up at that other interior defensive line position. Yep. Again, long-term, you hope it's Darius Alexander, but you don't want to see this team because all the run plays, Scadaboo and Tyrone Tracy, I understand we're not really killing these guys, but they've had run lanes. And the Giant run defense, I'll tell you right now, I'm already worried more so than the Commanders, more so than the Cowboys, more so than even the Chiefs. because I think our pass rush could hit Patrick Mahomes. I'm so worried about that Week 4 game with Harbaugh running the ball a million times if you can't stop the run with the Chargers. So that is how you lose games.
It's arguably the biggest concern, I think, on both sides. Besides the quarterback play, the inconsistent potentially quarterback play, the secondaries, which is pretty questionable. Dude, I mean, everything we've heard from this interior defensive line and the run defense is that this could be their Achilles heel this year.
Exactly.
Easily.
So not everything is roses, and we got to point out the good, the bad. All right, Bryce, that kind of summed up where we're at.
Hold on. I want to talk about Deontay Banks. I need to get into this. Bo Collins. Dude, you talked about Bo Collins. He ran a route deep down the field. It was streak, whatever the hell it was. Post, I don't know exactly what it was. But it was a Russell Wilson moon ball. He throws it up, and he underthrows him. And yet again, Deontay Banks, not looking for the ball, runs directly into him, commits a very obvious pass interference, turns around and celebrates it. He's celebrating. He has no idea when he commits a penalty. And then after the practice,
I didn't see this.
He finally speaks to the media. And he's got this inferiority complex. I don't exactly know what it is. He's got this false confidence. Essentially, I'm the man. He said something to one of the reporters. I forgot exactly who it was. But in his comments, and I wrote this down because it really pissed me off. He said, I feel like it's just as you know, in reference to how bad he was last year. He said, essentially, I just feel like it's kind of a sophomore slump, but I feel good, so I'm cool. And then he goes, and then he was asked, does he feel a sense of urgency to live up to his first-round pick expectations? He says, I'm just getting better every day, my guy. He said to the reporter, I'm just getting better every day, my guy. You're going to refer to a reporter as my guy. He's clearly got this nonchalant personality right now. I don't know where you get off. Talking like this and discuss, like, dude, like, you know how New York is. You're part of New York media. You don't talk to the media like that, especially if you're garbage. You saw what happened to Evan Neal. If this picks up, if he's unplayable yet again, and if he's really a bust after getting selected at the end of the first round in 2023, dude, he's going to become one of the most hated players in recent Giants memory, especially with this mindset and this whatever. I don't understand. He's got way too much confidence.
Look,
for
I think the one thing I want Deontay Banks to have is confidence, because the moment he loses it,
but it's not confidence. It's like arrogance. It's not confidence.
It depends. Look, I'll be honest with you.
With Evan Neal, it's confidence. This is arrogance.
I'm looking at a baseball field where I see Anthony Volpe having no confidence and sucking. As a cornerback, the one thing Banks needs to have is confidence. Now, I understand that's going to rub people the wrong way. I have my major questions about it. He's got to worry about winning his job here. And if he starts doubting himself, he ain't going to beat out Cordell Flott either. So I understand where you're coming from, Bryce.
It's arrogance. It's not confidence. It's talking that way to the media. It's like it's almost like he's completely delusional as to the seriousness of where he's at in terms of the Giants roster, the Giants depth chart. He should be like, listen, I'm trying my best here.
Look,
the sophomore slump. I need to be better.
If he sounds like that and he's getting baked and it's week 5 of the NFL, I'm with you. I personally am not gonna.
All the signs point to this happening. If he's committed clear pass interferences against undrafted free agents or undrafted rookies, come on.
I got to see that video. I was told, by the way, that first video where we kind of laughed at by people who were covering that said, no, that's not going to be called pass interference in the league. So I don't know what I think we might be looking back on, but you know the way the league is. Either way, Bryce, I'm going to be at camp on Thursday. I'll do my best to ask about Deontay Banks. All right, I will do my best, ears on the ground, to ask about Deontay Banks.
Bryce Gelman's very interested to know what's going on with Deontay Banks.
I will give you my thoughts on that next week, and we look ahead to a preseason game next week on One Giant Step, amazingly. At Bryce Gelman on Twitter and X, at Shaun Morash on Twitter and X. Thank you, everybody, for taking one giant step with us.